You don't lose people. God removes them before they can harm you. There comes a moment in every person's life when someone walks away, and we're left staring at the empty space they once occupied. A friend drifts away. A relationship ends. A loved one stops calling. And in that silence, we often ask, why? What did I do wrong? We grieve. We question. We try to make sense of the loss. But sometimes, what feels like abandonment is actually protection. What seems like a painful ending is a divine rescue in disguise. Most of us have been taught to cling, to hold on to people, memories, and relationships out of fear that their absence means we've failed. We believe that losing someone is inherently negative, that every departure is a reflection of our worth. But what if I told you that not every person you lose is a tragedy? What if I told you that some people are removed from your life because their continued presence would have destroyed you in ways you can't even imagine? That's not loss. That's divine intervention. You see, God hears conversations you don't hear. He sees the intentions behind smiles and the poison behind polite words. You may see someone as a close friend, a trusted partner, or even a soulmate, but God sees the manipulation, the jealousy, the slow decay of your spirit under their influence. And because He loves you, He acts. Quietly, sometimes painfully, He removes them. Not to hurt you, but to protect you. We often cry over doors that close, never realizing what was behind them. We mourn relationships that were never meant to last beyond their season. We chase after people who were only sent to be lessons, not lifetime companions. And in doing so, we question God's wisdom. We beg Him to bring them back. But here's the truth. If God had not removed them, you would have never grown. You would have remained in places that were shrinking you. You would have stayed blind to the truth that was slowly unraveling behind the scenes. This isn't just about heartbreak. It's about healing. It's about understanding that your life is being pruned not to punish you, but to prepare you. Just as a gardener trims the branches that no longer serve the tree's growth, so does God remove people who no longer serve your journey. It might feel harsh. It might feel unfair, but there is always purpose in the pruning. So today, I invite you to reconsider the people who have left your life, the ones you still think about, cry over, or resent. I ask you to look deeper. Were they really meant to stay forever? Or were they part of a divine strategy to protect your destiny? Because maybe, just maybe, you didn't lose them. God removed them before they could harm you. You don't lose people. God removes them before they can harm you. We grow up thinking that every person who enters our life is meant to stay. We assume permanence where there was only a passing purpose. And so, when someone walks away, or suddenly turns cold, or chooses to no longer be a part of our journey, it shakes us. It confuses us. It wounds us. We find ourselves clinging to the memory of who they were, replaying conversations, overanalyzing what went wrong, and wondering if there was something we could have done to make them stay. But here's the truth few people want to confront. Some losses are not losses at all. They are divine deliverances. Some goodbyes are not rejections. They are redirections. Not every person who leaves your life is meant to stay. And not every separation is an accident. Sometimes, it is God intervening. Silently, lovingly, protectively. You see, when people walk away from us, our instinct is to blame ourselves. We believe their departure is a reflection of our inadequacy. We tell ourselves that we weren't enough, or that we should have been different, more available, more understanding, more forgiving. We carry the weight of that departure on our backs like a burden, convinced that we have somehow failed. But what we often fail to realize is that God sees things we don't. He knows what is spoken behind closed doors. He sees the masks people wear when they stand in front of us, and the shadows they cast when they think no one is watching. He knows the heart, and He knows when it no longer aligns with yours. There are people who come into your life with charm on their lips and poison in their hearts. People who smile with you, but secretly compete against you. People who claim to support you, but only remain as long as you are not outgrowing them. People whose presence feels familiar, but whose influence drains your peace, your confidence, and your clarity. And when God sees that their presence is doing more damage than their absence ever could, He acts. Even if you don't understand it, even if it breaks your heart. Think about it. How many times have you begged for someone to stay, only to realize later that their leaving was the best thing that ever happened to you? How many nights did you cry over someone who left, only to look back months, or even years, later and thank God they did? That's not coincidence. That's protection. That's God doing what only He can do. Removing the people who would have harmed your calling, stolen your peace, or led you down paths that were never meant for you. But the removal is rarely comfortable. We rarely recognize the blessing in the moment. It hurts deeply, especially when you had invested so much love, time, trust, and hope into that relationship, especially when you were building a future that included them. It feels like the rug is being pulled from under you, like your heart is being torn in two. And in that pain, it's easy to question God, to ask why, to feel abandoned, not just by the person, but by God Himself. Yet, faith is not built in clarity. It's built in the chaos of uncertainty. Faith is trusting that even when the curtain closes, the author still knows how the story ends. You don't have to see the full picture to believe in its purpose. You don't have to understand why someone left to believe that it was necessary. Because when God removes, He's not punishing, He's protecting. And sometimes, the protection doesn't look like a shield. Sometimes, it looks like a breakup, a betrayal, a door slammed shut. But make no mistake, His hand is still on you. There is a reason why Jesus said, "Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, He takes away." That includes relationships. That includes friendships. That includes people you thought you couldn't live without. God prunes your life not to hurt you, but to help you grow. Because He knows the dreams He placed inside you. He knows the weight of your calling. And He knows that not everyone can go where you're going. Some people are distractions. Some are delays. Some are disguised dangers. So instead of seeing the removal as a personal failure, start seeing it as divine alignment. Begin to believe that maybe God isn't trying to take something from you. Maybe He's trying to make room for something better, something safer, something purer. The pain of loss might be sharp, but the peace that follows, when you finally let go, is unmatched. And when you trust God with the people who leave your life, you free yourself from the chains of bitterness, resentment, and endless self-blame. The truth is, God never makes a mistake. He is never late, and He is never careless. If someone has left your life, suddenly, painfully, or inexplicably, don't assume it's without reason. It may be one of the clearest signs that God is at work behind the scenes, removing what would have harmed you before it had the chance. Because the people who are truly for you, the ones meant to walk with you, pray with you, build with you, and grow with you, they won't have to be chased. They won't disappear when life gets hard. They won't manipulate your emotions, diminish your light, or secretly envy your progress. The people God ordains for your journey will bring peace, not confusion. They will bring strength, not stress. They will draw you closer to purpose, not pull you away from it. So if someone has walked away, let them walk. If a relationship has crumbled, stop trying to rebuild what God has already demolished. Trust that in the grand story of your life, their exit was necessary. Not because you were unworthy, but because your purpose is too valuable to be compromised by unsafe company. Divine protection often comes disguised as rejection. Rejection is one of the most painful human experiences. It bruises the ego, wounds the heart, and often leaves behind a trail of self-doubt and unanswered questions. Whether it's a friend turning cold without explanation, a relationship that suddenly ends, or a door of opportunity that shuts in your face, rejection makes you feel small, unworthy, forgotten. It triggers the part of us that wants to be loved, accepted, and understood. But here's a radical truth. Not all rejection is meant to break you. Sometimes, it is God's way of saving you. What looks like rejection in the physical is often protection in the spiritual. What you interpret as a failure might actually be God's favor, shielding you from something or someone that could have wrecked your peace, your purpose, and your future. You may not see it in the moment. When someone you trusted begins to distance themselves, or when people start treating you like you're invisible, your heart naturally wants to fix it. You want to hold on. You want to explain, to defend, to keep things together. But sometimes, God will allow people to walk away, even those you once prayed for, not because you're being punished, but because you're being preserved. You see, God sees the entire battlefield. You only see a few feet ahead. He sees the motives of hearts, the hidden agendas, the traps set in silence. He sees what you can't, the betrayal forming behind a smile, the gossip that hasn't reached your ears yet, the jealousy buried beneath compliments. And because of His deep love for you, He won't always give you a warning. He will simply remove what was never meant to stay. We cry over relationships God closed for our protection. We mourn friendships that were slowly killing our spirit. We chase after people who were never meant to walk with us long term. And all the while, we ask God to give us back what He, in His mercy, has taken away. But if He gave it back, you'd see why He removed it in the first place. Sometimes the most dangerous people are not the ones who hurt you openly, but the ones who keep you comfortable in dysfunction. The ones who keep you stuck in cycles that delay your healing. The ones who speak peace to your face but plant seeds of confusion behind your back. These are the people you often think you need. These are the ones you grieve when they go. But these are also the people God will not allow to stay, no matter how much it hurts. Rejection isn't always about what you did wrong. In fact, it's often confirmation that you're doing something right, that your light is too bright for some, that your growth intimidates those committed to staying stagnant, that your calling threatens those who only felt safe when you were playing small. And so they reject you, not because you're not enough, but because your presence reminds them of everything they're not willing to confront in themselves. When you understand this, rejection no longer becomes a place of shame. It becomes a place of revelation. You begin to see that who walks away is just as important as who stays. You stop begging people to make space for you in rooms God has already closed. You stop lowering your standards to keep people who were never qualified to handle your spirit in the first place. You stop chasing closure from people God has already closed the chapter on. Let this sink in. Rejection is not the end of your story. It's the clearing of a path. Sometimes God has to break your heart to save your soul. Sometimes He has to empty your hands so you can receive what's truly yours. Sometimes He removes people not because they're bad, but because they've reached the end of their assignment in your life. And sometimes they're removed because if they stayed any longer, they would have destroyed the very thing God is trying to build in you. It takes courage to accept this kind of truth. It takes faith to let people go without bitterness. It takes spiritual maturity to say, even though I love them, I trust God more. But when you do, when you finally stop viewing rejection as a curse and start seeing it as protection, you will step into a peace that no one can take from you. You'll realize that being alone isn't always lonely. It's often sacred space, a space God clears to realign you, rebuild you, and reconnect you with your purpose. So the next time someone walks away without explanation, don't panic. The next time you're excluded, overlooked, or pushed out, don't crumble. Lift your head. Stand in your truth, and whisper this to your soul. God, if you remove them, I won't chase them. If you close the door, I won't force it open. I trust that you see what I don't. And if it was meant to harm me, thank you for removing it, even when I didn't understand. Because divine protection often wears the disguise of rejection, and what felt like the worst thing in the moment may one day become the very reason you're still standing, still healing, and still becoming everything God created you to be. Learning to trust the process of separation. There's something profoundly difficult about letting go. Not because we enjoy pain, but because as human beings, we attach so much of our identity, our safety, our worth, to the people we journey with. When someone walks away, or when we're forced to release a relationship that once felt vital, it creates a kind of internal resistance. We say we trust God, yet we beg Him to let us keep what He's trying to remove. We say we want peace, but we hold on to what's already begun to destroy it. That is the tension of separation. But what if you reframe the way you see separation? What if it's not something to resist, but something to learn from? Something to surrender to, rather than something to fight? The truth is, separation is often the birthplace of revelation. It's in those moments when things fall apart that we begin to see what was holding us back all along. Sometimes it takes people leaving for us to finally find our own strength. Sometimes it takes being alone to hear God's voice clearly. Most people pray for clarity, for direction, for healing, but few realize that the answer often comes through separation, through pruning, through painful detachment. God doesn't always speak through thunder and miracles. Sometimes He speaks through silence, through doors that won't open, through friendships that suddenly fade, through relationships that unravel despite all your efforts to hold them together. And when this happens, we don't need to panic. We need to pause, because behind every ending lies a sacred opportunity to trust Him more. Trust is not built in ease, it's built in uncertainty. And real spiritual maturity is not when you rejoice because everything is going your way, but when you say, God, I don't understand this, but I trust you anyway. Trust is when you let go without closure, when you walk forward without knowing what's next, when you release the person, the plan, the expectation, and you still believe that what's ahead is better than what's behind. But that's not easy. Letting go is one of the most difficult disciplines we're called to learn, because letting go requires you to loosen your grip on control. It asks you to stop replaying the past. It invites you to stop begging people to stay who have already made a decision to leave. It calls you to stop asking why and start trusting who. Not who left, but who remains. And that's always God. One of the greatest mistakes people make is trying to reopen doors God has already sealed shut. You can cry over it. You can pray over it. You can even fast over it. But if it's not God's will, He will not allow it to flourish. Why? Because He knows something you don't. He knows where that road would lead. He knows the silent harm you would have suffered. He knows how long you would have delayed your own growth by staying attached to something He has already called finished. We serve a God who doesn't remove to punish. He removes to prepare. Every separation is an invitation to elevation. Every person who walks away leaves behind space. And that space is not meant to be filled with regret. It's meant to be filled with purpose, healing, rebuilding. It's space to reflect, to rest, to rediscover who you are when you're no longer defined by who left. And here's something important. Just because someone exits your life doesn't mean they were evil. Sometimes people are good, just not good for you in this season. Sometimes they were necessary for your past, but not aligned with your future. And that's okay. You're allowed to outgrow people. You're allowed to walk away from relationships that feel familiar but no longer feel safe. You're allowed to choose peace over history, growth over guilt, forward over familiar. Learning to trust the process of separation also means learning not to rush healing. Don't be in such a hurry to fill the void. Don't jump into another relationship just to avoid being alone. Don't surround yourself with noise to drown out the pain. Sit in the silence. Listen, mourn what was. But don't stay stuck there. Let it teach you. Let it refine you. Let it soften you, not harden you. Because the greatest lessons often come after the greatest losses. If you look at your life right now and feel like people have been walking away, understand this. You are not being abandoned. You are being aligned. God is not trying to hurt you. He's trying to reveal to you who you truly are without all the false attachments. He's trying to elevate your vision, strengthen your spirit. And He cannot do that if you keep dragging yesterday's weight into tomorrow's promise. There is a version of you that exists beyond this heartbreak. A wiser you, a freer you, a more focused and spiritually grounded version that only shows up after you've surrendered what no longer serves you. Separation is the furnace that burns away what is not real. It leaves only what is true. And if you're willing to trust that fire, if you're willing to lean into what feels like loss, you'll come out with more clarity, more peace, and more purpose than you've ever known. So trust the process. Let the people go who are meant to go. Don't chase. Don't beg. Don't force what has already fallen away. Your destiny is not tied to those who left. Your future doesn't depend on those who could not stay. Sometimes God will strip everything just to remind you that He is everything. And when you learn to trust that, truly trust it, you'll begin to walk lighter. You'll stop resenting the rejection. You'll stop questioning your worth. You'll stop reliving the pain of people who no longer deserve access to your peace. You'll begin to understand that the greatest gift God can give you isn't always addition. Sometimes it's subtraction. Because when God takes something away, it's never random. It's always strategic, always intentional, always for your good, even if it doesn't feel good. So breathe, let go, and trust the process. Because God is not finished. He's just clearing the way. The right people will never be removed. Not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay, but the ones who are meant to will. They won't need to be convinced to love you. They won't disappear when things get hard. They won't make you question your worth or shrink yourself just to be accepted. The right people, the ones truly sent by God, will not have to be chased, begged, or persuaded. Because what is divine never depends on manipulation to stay. It stays because it is aligned. When God removes someone from your life, it's often because their role has ended. It's not necessarily because they were evil or malicious, though sometimes they are. Sometimes, they're simply not meant for the next chapter. And when that chapter closes, you must let it close. But here's the key. When God brings people into your life for the long haul, for your growth, for your healing, For your divine calling, nothing can remove them. Not distance, not disagreement, not time. Because what is from God is rooted in purpose, not performance. You must stop fearing loss as if every departure is a personal failure. It is not. You didn't fail just because someone walked away. They may have been unable to carry the weight of who you are becoming. Not everyone has the capacity to grow with you, and that's not your fault. The right people will celebrate your evolution, not resent it. They'll push you to rise, not guilt you into staying small. Many of us try to cling to what is comfortable. We think that history equals loyalty, that the longer someone has known us, the more they deserve to stay. But length of time doesn't equal depth of connection. And just because someone was part of your story doesn't mean they belong in the whole book. God is the author. He writes people in and out for reasons we can't always see at first. But over time, we begin to realize that some exits were the best edits. You must also remember this. When God removes people, He doesn't leave you empty. He always restores. Often, He replaces what was broken with something stronger, more real, more aligned with your purpose. He sends people who speak life into you, not confusion. People who challenge your growth, not your peace. People who walk beside you with humility, grace, and truth, not ego, games, and hidden motives. The right people won't just tolerate your light, they'll protect it. They won't be intimidated by your calling or offended by your boundaries. They'll be honest, even when it's hard. They'll be present, even when it's inconvenient. They'll love you in a way that reflects God's love, not perfection, but persistence. Not performance, but presence. That kind of relationship doesn't leave when storms come. It digs deeper. It holds on. It grows stronger. So if someone has left, let them. Don't mourn what God has moved. Don't chase what has already exited your life. If it had been right, it would have remained. If it had been healthy, it would have grown with you. And if it was divine, it would still be here, because God never removes what's meant to stay. There's a deep peace that comes from knowing this truth. From understanding that you are not abandoned. You are being refined. The people who left made room for the people who will never leave. The people who stay, who continue to show up, who love you through every season. Those are your people. Not the ones who needed an audience. Not the ones who celebrated only your weakness. But the ones who speak to your strength, your spirit, and your sacred identity. And here's what's even more beautiful. You won't have to fear losing the right ones. You won't walk on eggshells, afraid that one misstep will make them vanish. You'll be able to be fully yourself, broken, growing, joyful, tired, hopeful, and still be loved. That's how you know they're from God. They don't just love the version of you that's polished and presentable. They love the version that's in the process. God is not interested in leaving you lonely. He's interested in surrounding you with people who build, not break. Who stay, not scatter. Who reflect His heart, not their own ego. And to receive those people, you must trust the process of removal. You must make peace with the losses. You must learn to stop mourning endings that were necessary for new beginnings. Let this sink in. If someone could be removed, they were never the foundation. The right people, your divine circle, are not shaken by truth, by time, or by trials. They are anchored, because they are sent, not stumbled upon. They are chosen, not convenient. They are rooted, not fleeting. So walk in confidence. Stop questioning your worth based on who left. Start discerning your value based on who stays and how they stay. Are they present in your pain, not just your victories? Are they holding you accountable in love? Are they helping you rise? Or do they feel threatened when you grow? These are the signs of the right people. And if you don't see them yet, don't be discouraged. Sometimes, God removes before He reveals. He empties before He fills. He isolates you before He connects you. But every part of that process is intentional. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared. Because the people who are meant to walk with you, truly, deeply, and divinely, will never need to be forced. They will never make you question if you're hard to love. They will remind you that you're chosen, worthy, seen, and understood, not just by them, but by God Himself. So today, breathe. Let go of what has been taken. Trust in what's being built. And walk forward knowing this unshakable truth. You don't lose people. God removes them before they can harm you. And what remains is holy.